Welcome to the postcast as the Jazz fall to the Boston Celtics tonight. The final score 98-95. David Locke along with Ron Boone. And I don't know, this probably is very contrary to a lot of fans. I'd say this is the best I've seen the Jazz play all year. And quite honestly, I have not been certain of what we've seen this year to know whether this is a good basketball team or not. I saw a very good basketball team tonight that's going to win a lot of games if they play like that, even though they fell to the Celtics.
There's a certain amount of growth in this team, and we've been able to watch it before our eyes, this team getting better. And you can always tell when a team is starting to gain confidence and get better by the way they perform on the road. We saw that in the first two ball games of this road trip. Tonight, even though they won a triple overtime game against Toronto, I think tonight's performance was probably better than what we saw in Toronto because of the team they're playing and then the half-court set and how they really got the job done.
And I'll add on to the whys of why. How could it be that your team's better on a night where you lose? Well, because on the road, what we have not seen out of this team is really a resiliency. Toronto's not a very good basketball team, so they survived the Toronto game where Toronto as much, quite honestly, fell apart late in that game, which then the Jazz took advantage of that door opening, which they deserve credit for. But tonight, there was no falling apart by the Boston Celtics. Instead, what you got tonight was a Celtic team that was banging to knock that door down. The Jazz just kept holding it up, if that's the analogy I'm going to use. And that we had not seen. In Denver, we certainly did not see that. When things went wrong in San Antonio, we didn't see that. In New Orleans, they were off all night and never got through it. We have not seen that out of this team. That's the best sign I've seen yet. And maybe the biggest thing, what you're pointing out, Ron, is to be able to do that, you have to know who you are. And we saw better execution and a little bit of a better understanding of who they were amongst themselves to be able to make those plays at the right time.
And the key here, though, David, is that as I talked to and was asking Coach Corbin about this, is that not one player is deferring to the other right now. And so many guys are getting a chance to do their thing. They built this team with this year with guys that can shoot the basketball, has confidence in their ability to shoot the basketball, and everyone's getting a chance. Foy coming off the bench, what a jewel. I mean, what a luxury that Coach Corbin has. But, Al Jefferson coming on strong late in the ball game. You just get to the point where you know your team, and you're I think what I'm seeing, though, is and from watching shoot-arounds, is the guys that are responding to what they're going over in shoot-arounds and transferring that to the ball game.
And Coach Corbin clearly is beginning to understand this team a little bit better. He kept saying that when everybody was like, hey, what about this, what about that? He's like, let's let this play out. And you see it, the big lineup of Favors has really forced himself onto the floor. He's earned himself on the floor. He kind of has to be on the floor. And so now Millsap's playing more three. And Derek was very good tonight defensively on Garnett, as good as he was against Bargnani. I mean, the Jazz really have a defensive stopper in the post right now. He's had back-to-back all-star level defensive performances. And I don't feel like I'm exaggerating. There aren't many guys in the league who could have done what he's done the last two nights. Millsap has played the three, and then they fiddle from there. It's become a seven-man, seven guys playing 20-plus minutes is kind of the core group, and then there are two other guys finishing out those final few.
And again, you can see the development. But at the beginning of the year, so many asking, well, why isn't this happening, or why isn't Favors playing more? And you can see things started to happen. Coach Corbin was asking just to be patient. I mean, you have to develop a rotation. The Boston Celtics, they're struggling with their rotation there as well. From what I've read here today, is that they just don't know what players are playing best together. They had a plus and minus system that they were trying to go along with, and it takes time. And so the Jazz right now, you can see that it's getting better for them.
So interesting. We're learning a little bit about every player. I think we're learning something about Marvin Williams, and that is, and I researched this before he came to play for us, and I had this in my research, but I wasn't sure about it. When he has a defensive assignment, he puts his focus on the defensive assignment, and his offense slips a little bit on those nights. We saw it in Memphis against Rudy Gay. He forced Gay to, I think, 4 of 18, but he didn't have much of any. See you, Sean. He didn't have much of an offensive game. Tonight, he held Pierce down. Pierce got going on other guys other than him a little bit. He played Pierce pretty darn well, but he doesn't have a big offensive game. And so Gordon Hayward picks up the slack there. Garnett's on Jefferson early in the game. And so Millsap picks up the slack there. And that's another sign of growth for this team, that they're beginning to be able to find the other answer when one of those things that they want is not there.
And that's what I mean by not deferring.
Right.
And not depending on one guy to get the job done. And obviously it's getting a heck of a lot better. And again, Coach Corbin and his coaching staff are doing a great job of just, I guess, in their meetings, deciding on how they want to do things, and you have to compliment the players for transferring those things to the court.
And now, if we go specifically this night, late in the game, it was an offensive failure by the Jazz. The defense got the job done. Gordon Hayward was guarding Paul Pierce. Kevin Garnett was being marked by Derek Favors. The Celtics got almost nothing offensively in those final possessions. I don't have a major complete play-by-play sheet, but the Celtics did not have a field goal to the best of my knowledge, other than the goaltending. And for the final 5 minutes and 38, they got a few free throws from Green. Garnett got fouled on a play where he got some free throws. Other than that, I think they were automatic fouls by the Jazz. The Celtics went from the 3:40 mark to Garnett getting fouled when he drove. I think Hayward got him from behind on an offensive rebound, not on the initial play, if I recall correctly on that, without a field goal. I mean, the Jazz defense late really did the work that they had to do. The problem was, for the first time in a while, the Jazz offense didn't get it done. Their last field goal came from Jefferson at the 1:56 mark. They tried to go Mo Williams penetration, a few other things, and they got nothing offensively late.
And that's what you'll get from time to time, David, in the closing seconds or closing minutes of a ball game. Why? Because clock is not your friend. Secondly, it's because if you try to run a play, there's a possibility of a turnover, and because you're trying to make passes and that type of thing. So usually they put the ball in one of their better players' hands that can play you one-on-one, and they try to make something happen from there, and it just didn't happen tonight.
Jazz return home on Monday. Will be Friday in Philadelphia. Will be Saturday in Washington. Those are 2 games. If the Jazz play like this, they'll win both of those basketball games. I'm certain of that. Now, that might be a lot to ask. This may be as good as this team can play tonight, but I'll request it and see what I can get for you. But in the meantime, we come back on Monday. Jazz tickets are available at UtahJazz.com. Check out 2 fabulous things. The 10x2 pack is available for you. You pay for 10, you get 12 games. I say you can split that with a friend. You get 5. It works out pretty well. Or you can just get it for yourself. The other things, the holiday packs are all there as well. Jazz fall tonight in Boston, 98-93. Paul Millsap's 20 points leads the way. Al Jefferson at 14 rebounds tonight. Good all-around effort by a lot of the guys. Derek Favors has a career-high 10 free throws made in 14 attempts in the ballgame. But the Jazz fall will be in Philly on Friday. On behalf of Ron, I'm David. Thank you very much for coming to the Postcast.